very much to Ines and her colleagues. As we have been talking about OSINT and the possibility of all sorts of people getting in on the Act, what we thought we'd do now was a masterclass on how not to conduct an OSINT investigation. And I have pleasure in inviting to present to us Aiganysh Aidarbekova, and I apologize if I haven't pronounced the name exactly right, who joined Bellingcat in 2018 as an OSINT researcher and trainer from Kyrgyzstan, and she conducts open source investigations ranging from corruption to flight tracking, and her recent works include QAnon conspiracies in Eastern Europe, conflict research in Tajikistan against minority populations, and of course the invasion of Ukraine. Welcome. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Welcome, welcome. The floor is yours.
Hey. Okay, perfect. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm really glad to be here today presenting on how not to conduct open source investigations. Elise and Benjamin were great to show you, explain to you that it is not always that open sources can be used in a good way. They're not always done in a way that makes a nice investigation, a pretty solid one, but there are lots of cases when these are done like quite bad, okay? And here we'll be showing you, let me find a clicker. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we've talked a lot about open source research, collaboration, how we rely on crowdsourced materials, and etc. And one group that actually also tries to do something similar is QAnon. So here I assume everyone is familiar with QAnon. Can you raise your hand if you are familiar? I expect everyone. Yeah, okay, perfect. So yeah, as you know, like whole of this QAnon community, they try to decipher those QAnon posts from Reddit. They collaborate with other QAnon followers and try to make sense of these posts. They try to analyze different digits, like how many O's are there in the post. They try to relate it to the current news event, and basically do their own research, as they call it. So here in the image is, this photo is from Leipzig, Germany. And actually in Germany there's a quite big QAnon community. So the Telegram channels that we've scraped, they have like more than hundreds of thousands of followers, which is quite big for Germany, I'd say. And there, as in like other countries in Europe, what they do is they take this like very American-based like conspiracy, and they try to relate it to Germany. They contextualize it, they relate it to their local news, and yeah, spread the word about it. So what we've done is we've scraped all of these Telegram channels. Here's an example from Germany, and here's a nice visualization of what they've been, what links they've been sharing. In the center, you'll be able to see like the expected Facebook, YouTube, Telegram, lots of different QAnon conspiracy websites, I don't know, Twitter channels of Donald Trump, like Donald Trump related lots of websites and etc. But there in the bottom, there's a very interesting chunk of links. So here you can see ADSB Exchange, so flight tracking websites like Flight Radar, ADSB Exchange that are commonly used by like open source researchers for flight tracking. There is also ship vessel tracking websites. There is like street maps. There are mapping services like Google Streets. There's also OpenStreetMap, different patent services. Lots of publicly, like lots of links, lots of sources that we in the community use. And this is just a nice visualization that these tools are actually also used by not only like OSINT researchers, but these online ideology groups. These are often also used by anti-vaxxers to confirm their research. Okay. So, for example, term Google Maps was used in that list 427 times, and term research in German was used like tens of thousands of times in the period between 2019 and till the end of 2021. They sometimes call themselves open source teams that do like open source like research, but generally they just usually use term research, okay, that they've done research. And here's an example of one. So in a small town of Germany, a 6-year-old boy loses his favorite toy in a supermarket. And this makes like a very local, like small news saying like, hey, this boy lost his toy and he really wants to find it. So here is a photo of him giving away flyers and saying that he'll give away all of his savings of 40 euros. So like very sad, cute story. But for QAnon, one follower, it became quite interesting because the toy was a rabbit. And if you know, rabbit is a huge symbol in the QAnon community. From the Alice in the Wonderland, follow the white rabbit. Meaning if you, in the QAnon community, if you follow the white rabbit, there you'll find those satanic abuses, you'll find more info about this like evil cabal and etc. So what he did a research where he says that he uncovered an incident of child abuse by using Google Maps. And he posted it on a channel of 25,000 subscribers. Quite impressive, right? And here's his investigation. Here's his research. Google Maps, yep. There's the supermarket in the top right. And this is the legit supermarket where this happened. And surprise, surprise, what he finds, like not far from the supermarket, a pizzeria. Again, for QAnon, it's like a huge thing because of the Pizzagate, where like, yeah, you know that. And then, so yeah, and in the bottom, you can also see the an Indian takeout called Taj Mahal. It also became a link to Trump because Trump owns a Trump Taj Mahal casino in New Jersey, okay? So based on these two things, they decided, yeah, this has to be like something related to QAnon, and they decided that like child abuse was happening here, and that child on the photo was actually a victim who is trying to get out, okay? So this kind of things. So like in a normal, I guess, non-QAnon related person would be like 100% sure that like this doesn't make any sense. But this is what happens in the like QAnon community. They do use this like open sources and just they reinforce their beliefs. And as it has been said earlier, they'll just, they will not let facts tell the story. They'll try finding those facts to fit into their stories, okay? And I've also told you that flight tracking websites have been used a lot by the community. So here's, for example, an adsbexchange.com, and it has actually been used a lot and shared a lot in the German QAnon communities, especially in spring of 2021. So these are the websites where you can see like the planes like live flying, and then you can click on them and see their trail. How many of you have heard about the conspiracy that helicopters are spraying COVID or chemicals? Yeah, like a lot of you, okay. Even my mother from Kyrgyzstan, she used to send me like videos saying, hey, here are helicopters in Kyrgyzstan, like spraying COVID. And again, this is also like very popular in QAnon. And here's their proof. So they do use like this ADS exchange or flight radar. So here you can see a map, I think it's somewhere in Germany. And you can see these parallel lines, right? So this is the trail of a plane that was just flying these lines. And they decided that the only reason it's doing this is because they are spraying these chemicals to control people in Germany. Another reason, they have their own like German flight trackers like channel for this. The other person is claiming that this is definitely a link to satanic abuses because this plane is actually patrolling over like deep states military bases. So lots of different things. And the funny thing about this, because in this like Telegram channel called German like flight trackers, there are actual genuine like flight tracker enthusiasts, and like they're saying, hey, this is actually because a pilot is testing a newly restored plane and making sure that it's flying well. And in these cases, yeah, it can be on one side like quite funny, but on the other side, some of these flight tracker enthusiasts, they might actually fall into this QAnon conspiracy. Here's another one. Shared a lot. Yeah, it has a lot. So first of all, there's a plane that did this rabbit trail, and yeah, again, rabbit is a like very big symbol in QAnon. And moreover, the plane that did it is unknown. Okay, this is from flight radar, and like where it took off, where it's landing is also unknown. And yeah, so this makes them believe that there is a secret plane flying over and making a sign to the whole world that we should look into Berlin, that something is happening there, like satanic abuses, and etc. And QAnon wants us to look in there. But yeah, as it has been previously said in the previous talk, like these people, they don't actually know how these tools work. So if it's a plane that is unknown, it doesn't mean it's like super secret or anything. It's actually quite common if it's a non-commercial flight for the plane to be unknown, because first of all, the pilot can decide to turn off the ADS-B transponder, so the flight trackers will not track it. Second, these planes can directly ask not to track their planes, and then in most of the cases, the flight tracking website, they are obliged not to post any info about it. And the third one is that these flight trackers, they don't have 100% coverage. So even if a plane is flying, it might not be detected on these radars because they just don't have a radar in this particular place. Okay, and yeah, and if you look at it, you'll also see a date. So you can see it's April 2020 date. Does it ring a bell? What could be happening in April with a rabbit? Yes, Easter, okay? So it was actually quite... It did make news, actually, saying in Germany, hey, so for Easter, they made, like, the plane made this thing, okay? So it was just for an Easter. Here's another example of how this Telegram channel in German, QAnon, said that the climate change was a scam. So this guy goes to Google Patents and finds a hurricane and tornado control device. And without reading the rest of it, without reading the research, he concludes that people can actually control hurricanes and tornadoes. And the tool for that is something on the right, okay, with this figure, with the swirls. He then finds a video of a hurricane, and if he zooms in like really, really big, there where the yellow arrow is, he finds a few lines, and he concludes that these are the same as in the previous slide from the figure 5, and that this hurricane is actually controlled. And this somehow confirms that climate change is a hoax. So, yeah, in this case, no, this is not related to what Bellingcat does. Yeah, this presentation is about how, in extreme, how open sources can be used in a very bad way, but in generally, it can also happen in our communities too. So because it can be the same problems, but not in an extreme, being in one's bubble. Having some assumptions and jumping to conclusions. Okay, so what we do in open source community, we are searching out of curiosity. So be always willing to ask a question. Always be aware of your assumptions. Be aware of your conclusions. Make sure that your conclusions are in fact accurate by challenging them. What we also do at Bellingcat is we peer review stuff a lot. So for example, with Ukraine, when we are trying to geolocate some photos, sometimes there are problems with it because lots of buildings look quite similar. And since it's a post-USSR country, it would be hard to find if this photo is from Kiev or it is from Bishkek, from Kyrgyzstan, because the infrastructure is quite similar. And in one case, we were looking into the missiles that hit residential areas with playgrounds. And later we found out that lots of playgrounds are also quite similar. And for that one, in order to be like 100% sure, you have to look at like smaller details, looking at the windows, like frames, if the doors are similar, the colors, and yeah, making sure that these details match. So yeah, another thing at Bellingcat what we have is our like very strong editors who will play the devil's advocate and try to challenge like everything that we write. And at the end of the day, it always works great because then we can be 100% sure that it's all good. And if one makes mistakes, like if you make mistake, it's okay. Just the thing about it is to be honest and acknowledge that this has happened. So yeah, that's it. This was my 12-minute race talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would you perhaps take a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Have time for it, right?
Oh, do they all want their lunch? No, we have a question.
Do you think that what you've described, and everyone has been laughing a lot with the description, the fact that QAnon is this kind of this giant game, this giant puzzle that everyone can take part in, do you think that plays a role in the fact that it has so many followers? I mean, it's the only conspiracy theory that you can take part in and be an investigator and expose the truth with brackets. And I mean, we were having a laugh now, but I think that the fact that every QAnon follower can be play the investigator is plays a role in the fact that it's gained so much traction. Yeah? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely, because QAnon in itself, it's a conspiracy that's quite collaborative, it's quite crowdsourced, and everyone feels part of the community by resharing one things, or if they find this satellite imagery, they think that they did something so great, they are closer to like QAnon, closer to truth. So I definitely agree that this being like quite a collaborative conspiracy and that every person can interpret it like the QAnon posts as however they wish and that they can contextualize it in their smaller communities. I've even found a QAnon community in Tajikistan, which is so far, I think, and so different, but they've also been able to like make their own research and then contextualize it in Tajikistan. They have their own, like in Russia, their own like demon satans who are staying like immortal just because they look young, and etc. So definitely, just because these followers, they can create their own research, it is continuing.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. You talked about your mom and her believing those kind of truth. How do you explain to your mom that's not the reality and that's not how it works? How do you
Say it again, sorry.
How do you explain to your mom or to your close ones that what they see, what they believe in is not the truth and that needs like proper investigation to do it? How do you manage to get the connection to have a conversation about that?
Mm-hmm. So for me, it's not that difficult, I'd say, because my mom did believe in the anti-vax conspiracies, because everyone in Kyrgyzstan believed in those. But it was easier in my family because she was the only one in the family who believed it in. Like my father was like pro-vaccinations, me too. So we just like sat and explained to her that no, you should get vaccinated. It was like a very short talk, and then she just complied. I remember at one point. I remember at one point she comes up to me takes out a magnet from the fridge and puts it on my arm. And I'm like, what's going on? And it sticks. And she's like, see, that's because you are vaccinated. It sticks to your arm because there are magnets in it and stuff like that. And yeah, I just first, like, I laughed for 5 minutes, and then I explained to her that it's just probably a sweat, or it's just skin being there, yeah. So yeah. But in general, in the bigger community, I have a close friend whose mom is like complete QAnon believer, and this is like a huge issue for them. And one of the things that they find support in is actually, again, in different like Reddit chains. I forgot the name of it, but they talk about their family members who are in QAnon. And the things that helps them is like reading through this list, but also sharing this like list with their like QAnon families.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, well, we've more or less caught up, so I think the idea is that lunch will still finish at 1:35, and if you can be back here then